Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Joseph Taukek. As Anna introduced me earlier, I'm a mobile developer, and I use Flutter and Dart basically for my mobile development, and then I use other technologies when needed or other stacks. So today I'll be talking about pushing to Bitbucket, right? Because I just noticed that a lot of developers were used to GitHub, but Bitbucket is very similar to GitHub, right? So and I feel Bitbucket is more like a lightweight version of GitHub, right? And it helps you to carry on your CI/CD seamlessly as well. But personally, I think I find Bitbucket more interesting to me than GitHub to an extent, right? Given the nature of how simple it is. So, but uh, over like the last year, or should I say year plus, that I've been pushing code to GitHub, I've come across a couple of challenges, and through research and stuff, I was able to kind of cover them. So I just feel like sharing these experiences with you guys, so that if you're having any issue at any point pushing your code to Bitbucket, then yeah, you can easily like I hope and I'm looking forward that this particular session would help you to navigate through Bitbucket. So yeah, I think we can move on to the next slide. Right. So as it is a developer's guide to effective use of Bitbucket for CI/CD. As I believe everyone here is tech inclined or has knowledge of tech. CI/CD means continuous integration and continuous development. So yes, we can move on to the next. Right. So what is Bitbucket? So in a simple way, Bitbucket is another tool for continuous integration and continuous deployment. Just like I said, it's very similar to GitHub. So if you're familiar with GitHub, you should be able to navigate your way with Bitbucket as well. Just a couple of minor differences, like real minor. So yeah, we can move on to the next. Yeah, so just like I said, Bitbucket is very similar to GitHub, and a lot of times, though, yeah, there's this thing. Developers tend to confuse Bitbucket and GitHub, but yeah, there's a slight difference. Just like I said, Bitbucket is a lightweight version of GitHub. So so yeah, I think with that being said, we can jump straight right into it, and then let's see how it goes. All right, so you can click on to the next one. So this is going to be more, yeah, this is going to be, you can click on to the next. This is going to be more like a practical session, but I'll just do the talking, and all the code snippets will be on the screen, and I believe Anna would share the slides after the or during this presentation if necessary. So in case you want to reference it whenever you're pushing to Bitbucket, you can easily reference it. And then everything is a bit self-explanatory based on the slide. So please, Anna, thank you very much. We can go on to the next one. Right. So basically in this particular session, I'll be covering three things. They are all in one though, but I want to just break them down. How to push your code to Bitbucket like into a new repository, and then whenever I encounter an error, and then how to uninitialize a Bitbucket repository and then like rerun it all over again. So yeah, these are the three major key points I would like to cover. Right. So I think we can move on to the next one. Right. So just like GitHub, when you're using Bitbucket, if you want to push your code to a repository, first of all, you create your Bitbucket account. I think yeah, it's on Atlassian. So you create your Bitbucket account and then create your repository. And once you've created your repository on your application's terminal, you run the command git init. So when you run the command git init, this will initialize your repository just like it does with GitHub. So yeah, we can go on to the next one. Right. So you now to add your Git URL, if you go onto your Bitbucket, you you'll see like you can copy your repository URL from BitBucket, like it's clearly open there on your dashboard or on the particular repository or project dashboard that you're on. So once you copy it, you click or you type on git remote add origin, and then you add the repository URL. And kindly take note that you don't need to add the brackets. That's the less than and the greater than sign in there. So you just need to just put them. You just add your repository URL there, and then you click on it. Then you get your response from the terminal. So yeah, we can go on to the next one. Now, so once you've initialized your URL, what you need to do is you type git add on your terminal, and now what this will do is to add all your files to the local. Once your files have been added to the local, then you can move on to the next command. So yeah, then you commit your files. So just like I said, BitBucket is very similar to GitHub. So I'm sure if you're looking at this command, you might be wondering what's the difference between this and GitHub. But yeah, just like I said, it's a lightweight version of GitHub. So now you click on git commit, then your commit message goes in there, and then that commits all your files to your repository. So yeah, we can go on to the next one. Now, if you want to use a new branch, we don't want to push to the main branch. Then you run git checkout, then you clean main, and then this will it will create. You can check out to a new branch basically, right? So like we can move on to the next one. Now to push to a new branch after you've checked out from the main branch, now you click on git push origin, then you like clean main, and then that yeah now you so it depends on what you want to name your new branch, right? That's based on your choice. So we can go on to the next one. So I'd like to get to yeah. All right, let's just move on to the next one. Right. So but for some reason, a lot of times if you don't want to create a new branch, you can just push to the active branch that you're on. So if you run this command git push origin head, that pushes your code to the active or the existing branch you're on. So yeah, we can move on to the next. Now, this is like the interesting part of BitBucket because just like I said, BitBucket is a lightweight version of GitHub, right? So, but in most cases, BitBucket does not support as large in size like files as GitHub does. So, and this is like where majority of developers tend to have issues. And part of the reason I actually chose this topic was because a lot of developers I've worked with or I've known have had this particular issue whenever they're working with BitBucket. So they tend to kind of get stuck at this point. So, but so just like I said, you may come across an error where your files are very large, and BitBucket does not support pushing files larger than 100 MB. So you can see, especially I don't want to talk about I don't want to conclude if web has larger files, but for mobile applications or mobile code, the tendency of having large files is very common. So I'll now from here I'll be showing you like a guide to how you can take out the large files, and that will not affect your code whenever you clone your repository or whenever anyone pulls from your repository and continues the work. So just like I said, below is an example of such errors and how to resolve them. So we can move on to the next one. Right. So this is an example of such an error, basically, like the way it is pasted here. So once you run your commit command, if you have files that are larger than 100 MB, you probably get this particular code or this particular error message on your terminal. So what you now do, just to run through it, like briefly, it shows you, okay, this is what it there, removes resolving delta and stuff. Then now the error message particularly comes from the second line here, which says remote, your push has been blocked because it includes at least one file that is 100 MB or larger. So, like I said, BitBucket does not support any file that is larger than 100 megabytes. So, you have to now run through your code and then take out the large files. but majority of the times your large files could reside in your build folder. And so, and if you've worked on a mobile, or if you've built with mobile, you know that deleting your build file does not really affect your code from running. So most of the time, if you want to push and say the size of application is larger than 100 MB or your build file, then you have to now run down to the next command that will be running. So in order for you to resolve this particular challenge, because a lot of times, like I said, developers do encounter this challenge, especially people running mobile applications or mobile code. So so I'll be showing you how to get this cleared up, and then you are able to successfully push your code to BitBucket. So yeah, we can move on to the next one. Right. So now once you've been notified by BitBucket that you have files larger than 100 MB, you can go to your project files and then you delete the larger files. And just like I said, the files you'll be deleting will not necessarily affect your code from running. So once you delete these files, they are mostly build files, right? It could be in your Android folder, your iOS folder, or the build folder in itself. So if you want to find files that are larger than 100 MB, for example, or if you want to even bring it down to like 50 MB and above, then you run this command find type. Like if you just copy this command and paste it on your terminal, what this file does is it looks for all the files in your code, in your code that are larger than 100 MB. Though for this particular one, I used 50 M plus 50 M, which means this will look for files that are larger than from 50 MB upward. So once you've gotten these files, then we can move on to the next screen. So where I show you what you do next. Now, this is once you run the command, this is an example of what you see, right? So the result you show, it breaks down all the files in your code, right? In your code that are larger than 100 MB. So if, for example, you see the build, you see that.o, you might see maybe a folder in Android or on iOS, like I said earlier, or even if you have like a code file that is larger than 100, that is larger than 50 or 100 MB, just for example, it will still lay it all out for you. So from here now, you can look at which of these files you want to delete. So for you to delete this file, you can then you run the next command. So we can go on to the next screen. Right, then now to delete the files, here's what you can do. You run git remove rl, then you like cache build. So what this command does is you are deleting the files one after the other, right? So once you start deleting the files, you get to you realize that okay, yeah, all these files are being removed, and then you're able to kind of like have a smaller size build file to see that, or your code your your code base becomes smaller when you remove some of these files, right? So it is very important. And just like I said, a lot of the build file, or a lot of the files that you get to see when BitBucket notifies you, are not files that will affect your code from running. So they are basically maybe compile time code and stuff like that. Even if you delete, whenever you run your code again, these files will be rebuilt. So yeah, we can move on to the next one. Now, once you've deleted the files, you would have to, you can't just go ahead to commit, right? You have to run git add again. So what this does is it will update your local with the updated changes that you've made. Now, so say your code base was around, let's say for example, it was around like 200 MB, and then delete like 100 MB file, it will recompile and keep it at 100 MB. Just for example, yeah. Or if your code was at say 100 MB and you delete some build file, it will once you run git add, it will now update your local. Then you have the updated file size that you have, or the code your code base size. Now, once you run that, then you run git commit, then you enter your commit message, which will commit your new changes to your repository, right? And then so we can go on to the next one. So once your changes are being updated, then you realize you now go to git push origin, and then you enter the branch name, right? So once you if you want to push to the main brand, then you can use git push origin head or something. Yeah, but basically, if you a lot of times, if you check, it is advisable as a developer that whenever you make changes to your code or you update anything in your code, you push to a new branch, just in case you have something in your main branch that you do not want it to break, right, at the cost of running your application. So it's a healthy practice to push to a new branch whenever you've made changes to your local. So we can go on to the next one. Right. So just like I said, this was a very short and simple presentation, and I hope this will help a lot of developers that are trying to use Bitbucket for the first time, because I think lately I've observed like a lot of I don't know if I should say organizations, but developers are switching to use Bitbucket simply because, like I said, it's a lightweight version. So this helps you to have like a um, code, a smooth repository for your code, and then it helps you to like have your CI/CD pipeline seamless, right? So I think that being said, that is like I think this is the end of my own presentation. So Anna, you can do me a favor and share the slide for those that would need it. And then in case you ever come across any of these challenges when trying to use Bitbucket, you can kindly refer to to the file or to the presentation. And I hope it helps you in any way you need it to. So thank you very much, everyone. I know my sessions are usually short, but I like to keep my sessions short and simple. We just go straight to the practical aspect, and then yeah, I think that will be the end of my presentation. Anna, thank you very much.
Thank you.